It started with a bowling chip. Not a text. Not a lipstick stain. Not even the classic perfume that isn't mine trick. No, my red flag came in the shape of a small, round plastic token, the kind you win at novelty lanes when you bowl a strike during cosmic hour. It was sitting quietly in the left pocket of her jacket, the one she swore she hadn't worn in over a year. The chip was neon orange. Bold letters printed on it. For doubles, with the date beneath it, last Thursday. The same Thursday, she said she was running late for work because of some last-minute conference call. Now, I'm not the kind of guy who checks pockets. I'm the kind of guy who folds her laundry while watching reruns of Columbo. But when I picked up her jacket, it felt heavier. And not in a metaphorical way. No, I mean it literally felt like she was carrying something. Something that didn't belong. Turns out, that was fitting. Let me back up for a second. My name's Miles. 39. Engineer by day, amateur chess player by night. And until recently, a husband to a woman who could lie with the ease of someone ordering their usual at a drive-thru. Her name was Tessa. She liked yoga, medium-rare steak, and, apparently, dudes who bowled on Thursdays. We hadn't been to that bowling alley in over a year. I knew that because the last time we went, she got mad when I bowled a perfect game and called it intimidating. I never thought it would be the last time we went together, but apparently, she just needed a new partner. The chip? That was my first move on the board. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I held it. Pocketed it like a rook waiting for a clean shot at a smug bishop. Because I already had suspicions. A few months before, she started working late. Not every night. Just enough to make it believable. And her phone? Suddenly locked. New password. When I asked why, she said she changed it because she accidentally butt-dialed a client. Right. Because the one thing worse than infidelity is accidental customer outreach. Anyway, after the chip, I decided to take a personal day. Told her I had a company training in Chicago. Truth was, I drove across town to that bowling alley, the one with the neon lanes and stale nachos, and paid for a private booth next to the security guy's office. I offered him $40 and 2 bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches for access to the security footage from the date on the chip. What did I see? Oh, I saw a hell of a game. Tessa, and a man I'd seen before. Not in person, but in photos. On her Instagram. Always in group settings. Always smiling just enough to be harmless. His name was Andrew. Just a friend from work, she once told me. He's engaged. Relax. Sure. Engaged. Meanwhile, there they were, two-hand tossing a single bowling ball like they were reenacting Ghost, but with rental shoes. They laughed. A lot. And not the kind you fake at bad jokes. The real kind. The kind that bounces off your molars and makes you forget consequences. She touched his arm after a gutter ball. He grabbed her waist before she rolled a spare. And after the game, he kissed her. Right there in the aisle between lane 7 and lane 8. Underneath a sign that read, "Respect the game." I didn't cry. I didn't throw anything. I didn't even flinch. I just sat there with my sandwich and watched the whole betrayal unfold with the calm of a guy watching the weather report. When I got home that night, I cooked her dinner. Yep, you read that right. Lasagna, garlic bread, Caesar salad, the whole bit. She walked in like nothing happened, smiled, and said, "What's the occasion?" "Nothing special," I said. "Just thought it was a good day to celebrate doubles." She blinked. "Bowling, Tess. Remember? You and I used to play. Been over a year, hasn't it?" Her hand tightened on her purse strap. Her smile started to droop. Then I pulled the chip out of my pocket, placed it on the table like a wild card in poker, and gave her a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Her fork never touched the lasagna. But that was just the first game. This was going to be a 10-frame revenge. Clean. Strategic. And I'd already bowled the first strike. The next morning, she was sweet. Too sweet. Like she dipped her whole personality in syrup and hoped I wouldn't taste the vinegar underneath. "Good morning," she said, kissing me on the cheek like a bad actress in a community play. "Morning," I replied, sipping my coffee, which suddenly tasted better now that I knew who she really was. Amazing what a little clarity can do for the palate. She packed her gym bag like nothing happened. I didn't ask where she was going. I didn't need to. "Spin class," she chirped, slinging her yoga mat over one shoulder. "Back by noon." "Sure," I said. "Tell Andrew I said hi." She froze. Just for a second. A microsecond, really. But I saw it. That tiny flicker in her eyes. The one that said, "Oh no." That flicker was worth more to me than any apology. "Who's Andrew?" she asked. laughing a little too hard. You mean my boss? Sure, I said. Your boss. That's what we're calling him now. She didn't say anything after that. Just left. Fast. Like the house was on fire and her conscience smelled smoke. Now, here's the part where most men get dramatic. They confront. They argue. Maybe they cry. That's not my style. I'm more of a slow burn kind of guy. The smile while I sharpen my blade type. So instead of exploding, I planned. I called in a favor from a friend who owed me one. Guy named Brant. Works IT for a private security firm. He once hacked into his ex-girlfriend's Fitbit to prove she wasn't jogging when she said she was. It was insane. I knew he'd be perfect. I need you to track someone for me, I told him. Wife, he asked. Wife, I confirmed. He didn't ask questions. He just grunted and said, email me her phone number. I'll handle the rest. By noon, I had her text history in front of me like a greatest hits playlist of betrayal. I hate pretending around him. You're the only one who gets me. Last night was perfect. Same time next week. And my personal favorite. I think he suspects something, but he's too nice. Too nice. They always mistake kindness for weakness. It's a classic blunder. But I wasn't angry, not really. I was focused, calculated, like a chess player planning 5 moves ahead while the other guy's still learning how the knight moves. I spent that week playing the long game. I cooked. I cleaned. I made her laugh. I kissed her on the forehead like she hadn't gutted me with a smile. I played husband so well she forgot I knew. And while she was giggling with Andrew over shared Spotify playlists, I was building something beautiful behind the scenes, a revenge arc worthy of a standing ovation. I had Brant clone her cloud, texts, photos, calendars, the full season of her side hustle love life. Then I got creative. I printed the best pieces, just enough to tell the story, but not enough to be vindictive. I wasn't trying to ruin her life. I just wanted her to feel what it's like when someone rearranges your world without asking first. And that's when I found it. A digital receipt. Bowling lane reservation. 2 names on the booking, Tessa and Andrew. The description? 2 for 1 couple's night, double trouble package. I swear, I almost clapped. That was the theme I'd been waiting for. The thing about revenge? It's best served cold, but it's even better when it's themed. So I called up the bowling alley, Midtown Lanes, the one with the sticky floors and jukebox that thinks it's still 1999. I spoke to a guy named Kenny, who sounded like he wore his hat backward even during job interviews. Hey man, I said, I saw you've got that couple's night promo. Is it still on next Thursday? Yes, sir, Kenny said, with the enthusiasm of a man who lives for discounted nachos. Double trouble night, 2 for 1 lanes, free pitcher of beer, and a complimentary photo of your lovebirds moment. I could have wept. The universe was practically gift wrapping this for me. I booked a lane. In her name. And Andrews. Yep. Using the email address she reserved with before. The same one she used for most of her innocent reservations. I even made a note in the special request box. Please make sure to play Love Hurts by Nazareth when we arrive. It's our thing. A week of perfect husbandry followed. I was a saint in sneakers. I complimented her hair. I let her pick the movie. I even sat through an entire rom-com without twitching once, though I did imagine Andrew being run over by a Zamboni during most of the 3rd act. Meanwhile, Brant sent me daily digests. She wasn't just seeing Andrew. She was planning something. Do you think he'll finally leave if he finds out? If not, we'll figure something out. That something stuck with me, so I got ahead of it. I called my lawyer, a quiet guy named Daryl with glasses thicker than a milkshake. We drew up the papers. Divorce, asset protection, evidence packet. Neat. Surgical. By the following Thursday, everything was in place. That morning, I kissed her on the forehead like always. I handed her a packed lunch, which I never do. A little foil-wrapped sandwich and a note inside that read, for when you're done with doubles night. Hope you strike out. Then I left the house like it was any other day. But here's the twist. I didn't go to work. I went to Midtown Lanes. Not to stop her. To watch. I rented the lane next to hers under a different name. Hat down. Hoodie up. The kind of disguise you see in movies where no one looks too closely at faces. I brought a camera. Not a phone camera. A real one. Tripod. Zoom lens. Brant would have cried tears of joy. At 7:03 p.m., they walked in. Andrew had that smirk. The one that says I park in handicapped spots even when I don't need to. Tessa wore jeans she only saved for date nights. They laughed like they invented inside jokes. like they were the only two people in the world. They bowled. They touched. He even kissed her cheek after a strike. And then, the best part. Kenny, the guy at the counter, queued up the song. Musical note, Love Hurts. Musical note. She froze. Her face twisted slightly, like a glitch in the Matrix. She looked around, confused. Andrew leaned in, said something. She smiled again, but not quite the same. Click. Photo printed. Them posing with a trophy Kenny handed them labeled Couple of the Night. Perfect. I packed up my things and left through the back, just as they were ordering chili fries. Now here's where it all comes together. When she came home later that night, the house was quiet. Too quiet. On the kitchen table sat the framed couple's night photo. Underneath it, a note. Thought you'd want to remember your last night bowling as a wife. She ran upstairs. I wasn't there. She checked the bathroom. Nothing. Finally, she opened the bedroom door. There it was. Her suitcase, packed for her. Divorce papers, signed. A USB stick with a full photo collection, neatly labeled strikes and foul play. And on top of everything else, the bowling chip. The one that started it all. She screamed. I know, because Brant had one last favor to do. Install a motion cam in the hallway. But I didn't watch that footage. I didn't need to. Because revenge wasn't in the rage. It was in the silence. And the pins falling down one by one. I didn't go far after I left the house. Just far enough. There's a motel on Route 9, 5 minutes from our driveway, and one ill-lit parking lot away from a nervous breakdown. I checked in under the name Cliff Barton, an alias I use exclusively when I want to disappear without really disappearing. Room 204. Smelled like lemon cleaner and broken dreams. I sat on the edge of the bed, watching the motel TV flicker reruns of Wheel of Fortune, and waited for the storm to hit. It didn't take long. At 9:47 p.m., my phone buzzed. Tessa, what is this? Tessa, where are you? Tessa, Miles, answer me. She was spiraling. I could practically hear the stilettos clicking in angry circles on our hardwood floors. I imagined her opening every door, hoping this was all some twisted joke. A prank. A test. And in a way, it was. She always liked being the smartest person in the room. She just never imagined the other person was quietly taking notes. I didn't respond. Not because I didn't want to, but because silence says more than any monologue ever could. She wasn't owed an explanation. She'd written the script. I just directed the final scene. Around midnight, she switched tactics. The messages slowed. Became softer. Tessa, I know you're hurt. Tessa, can we talk? Tessa, please, this isn't what you think. That one made me laugh. Not what I think. I had timestamps. Video. A trophy. She went quiet after that. Probably trying to call Andrew. Probably didn't get the response she wanted. I know his type. Charisma and commitment don't usually ride in the same car. My guess? He went home to his real girlfriend, turned off his phone, and slept like a baby. Tessa, meanwhile, probably stood in our kitchen, staring at her own reflection in the microwave door, realizing she had nowhere to place the blame anymore. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was heartbroken, but because something inside me was finally settling. For the first time in months, my brain wasn't trying to make sense of inconsistencies, late-night gym bags, or why her phone had so many emergency meetings with no calendar invites. By morning, I had a message from Kenny at the bowling alley. He'd found a second copy of the Couple of the Night photo in the back office. Figured you'd want it, his note said. That dude had the weakest throw I've ever seen. Thanks, Kenny. I took my time getting home. It was Saturday, Tessa's yoga morning. She always left at 8 a.m., unless she had a hangover or a scandal to manage. I walked through the front door at 8:15, in case she was still there. She was, sitting on the bottom stair, hair undone, mascara smudged, holding the chip between her fingers like it was evidence of my wrongdoing. Her eyes widened. Miles, still here? I asked, dropping my keys in the dish like it was just another day. She stood quickly. Where were you? I motioned toward the counter. Did you not read the note? Her voice cracked. I thought that I'd come crawling back. I smiled politely. Yeah, that's a common miscalculation. She moved toward me like she was about to explain. Her hands reached out. Not quite a hug, not quite a plea. Please, can we talk? We are talking. Miles, this wasn't supposed to happen like this. Was it supposed to be softer? Maybe with wine. You'd tell me you were confused, you'd cry, I'd hug you. We'd get therapy and pretend your bowling buddy wasn't rearranging your priorities one frame at a time. That's not fair. I stepped closer, voice even. Do not stand there and say what's fair. She blinked. The tears were coming, slow and desperate. I made a mistake. I tilted my head. No, a mistake is forgetting an anniversary. Leaving your gym shoes in the car. What you did was a campaign. She opened her mouth to respond, but I held up a hand. Calm. Final. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to stay here this weekend. Pack what's yours. I'll be gone. By Monday, you'll have the papers. She flinched. You filed. I prepared. I shrugged. Let's just say I bowled alone too. And I won. There it was again, that twitch in her expression. A moment of realization. That she wasn't married to a doormat. She'd been married to a man who let her run ahead just long enough to catch herself in the act. She sat back down slowly, like her legs couldn't quite remember how to hold her up. I didn't mean to fall for him, she whispered. I nodded. But you meant to lie to me. Over and over. That part wasn't accidental. She didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. I turned toward the hallway but paused. Oh, and by the way, I added over my shoulder, the guest room. That's where I slept the night after I found the chip. You didn't notice. Kind of poetic, really. I left you long before I walked out. I left her sitting there, spinning that chip between her fingers like it held answers. And me? I got in my car, turned the radio up, and headed straight to brunch. With someone who knew how to bowl, and how to tell the truth. 2 weeks passed. That fast. Divorce papers were signed. Well, mine were. Hers took 3 days and a house call from her cousin/lawyer/therapist, Maggie, who showed up with a clipboard, a "you deserve better" face, and a half-hearted pep talk that even Tessa didn't believe. She scribbled her name on the dotted line with all the energy of a grocery store return. No tears. Just a cold little huff, like this was beneath her. That was fine. I wanted dignity, not drama. But then came the weird part. The quiet. No yelling. No accusations. Not even a "you'll regret this" text. Just silence. Which would have been peaceful if it didn't feel like the part in the movie where the villain walks off camera and you know they're not done yet. Still, I moved forward. I was in a new place. A 2-bedroom with old brick walls and a view of the river if you leaned far enough over the balcony railing. I set up the essentials. Coffee maker, chessboard, a bed that didn't sag on her side anymore. No more citrus-scented perfume haunting my pillows. No more half-used lipstick tubes in the bathroom drawer. Just quiet. Real quiet. One morning, I checked the mailbox and found something odd. A small envelope with no stamp, no return address. Just my name written in all caps. Inside, a photo. The bowling photo. Tessa and Andrew, arms around each other, holding the couple of the night trophy. But someone had written across the top in black Sharpie. Double's night was only the beginning. That's when I knew. She wasn't done. I called Brant. She sent you a threat? He asked, somewhere between laughing and groaning. What? Is this her villain origin story? What does she think you're gonna do? Challenge him to a rematch. She doesn't want a rematch, I said. She wants a scene. Brant snorted. What did she expect? You to chase her down and beg for forgiveness like a Hallmark special? No, I said. She expected me to care. That's the problem. It wasn't about Andrew. It never was. He was the prop. I was the audience. And now she was trying to direct the encore. I didn't bite. Instead, I waited. See, here's the thing. When you stop feeding the fire, narcissists don't fade. They flare. And sure enough, 3 days later, I got the invitation. An actual printed invite. Foil stamped. Classy paper. One of those cards that tries too hard to feel expensive, but ends up smelling like desperation and fake vanilla. Join us for a celebration of new beginnings. Tessa and Andrew's moving-in mixer. Casual vibes, cocktails, connection. Saturday at 7 p.m. Midtown Lanes Event Hall. Yes, we're starting our story where it all began, winking face. That last line, that was for me. A bowling-themed couples party. At the same bowling alley. They wanted me to see it. Or more accurately, wanted me to react. Brant called it diabolical with a side of tacky. I called it an opportunity. I RSVP'd yes. And I didn't go alone. Her name was Riley. We'd met a few weeks back at a bookstore, of all places. She was standing in the self-help section, thumbing through a book called How to Spot a Narcissist Without Losing Your Mind. I made a joke about putting that one in the fiction aisle, and she laughed. Really laughed. We'd been on 3 dates since. She bowled, too, poorly, but enthusiastically. And when I asked if she wanted to attend a petty little social experiment with me, she just raised an eyebrow and said, "Do I get to wear sparkles?" So that Saturday night, I walked into the Midtown Lanes event hall in a blazer and jeans, and Riley wore sequins like it was the Met Gala. She lit up the room the second we walked in. Tessa noticed us before we even hit the carpet. She was by the punch bowl, dressed like revenge and champagne. Her mouth dropped open, just slightly, before curling into a smile that didn't quite touch her eyes. "Miles," she said, striding over like we were old friends and not legally untethered ex-spouses. "You came." I gestured to the giant banner above the lanes. "Rolling into our future." How could I resist? She looked Riley up and down. "And you brought." "Riley," she said brightly. "I'm here for the snacks and the gossip." Tessa blinked. Andrew wandered up behind her, all smug jawline and secondhand cologne. "Hey man," he said with a head nod like we were still frat bros instead of two chapters in the same cautionary tale. I just smiled. "How's the wrist?" He looked confused. "Tessa said you had to sit out last week. Something about overuse." Tessa went rigid. He frowned. "What?" I turned to Riley. "Apparently, doubles night takes stamina." Tessa flushed crimson. Andrew turned to her. "What is he talking about?" And that, right there, was my strike. The tension snapped like a cheap elastic band. Words started flying. Low tones at first, then sharp ones. Tessa's smile vanished, replaced by the real her, short-tempered, cornered, loud. People were watching. Phones were out. I patted Riley's arm. "Ready to go?" She smiled. "Thought you'd never ask." As we walked out, the party unraveling behind us, Riley whispered, "So, that was the ex?" I nodded. "And this," she said, "was your revenge." "No," I said. "This was the spare." Because the real strike was letting her show the world exactly who she was, without me lifting a finger. I didn't expect to follow up. I figured the party turn meltdown at Midtown Lanes would be the final chapter in the Tessa and Andrew saga. A beautiful implosion dressed up in glitter and passive-aggressive hors d'oeuvres. But like most people who are used to controlling the narrative, Tessa didn't know when to exit stage left. 2 days later, a package showed up at my door. No return label, just a plain brown box, roughly the size of a shoebox. I stood in the kitchen for a moment, just staring at it like it might hiss or sprout fangs. Then I opened it. Inside, the couple of the night bowling trophy. And a note. "Since you seem to care so much about it, you might as well keep it. We don't need trophies to prove anything. We have each other." "Tessa." I let out a short, surprised laugh. That kind of laugh you make when you stub your toe and realize you're too angry to feel it. Riley was over that evening. She found me staring at the trophy on the counter like it had personally insulted my mother. "You okay?" she asked. I turned to her, holding the thing up like a cursed artifact from an Indiana Jones movie. "She mailed me the trophy." Riley raised an eyebrow. "Seriously? She thinks I care. She still thinks this is about the trophy." "Well," she said, plucking it from my hand and examining the cheap plastic. "It's not hilarious." She set it on my bookshelf between a ceramic chess knight and a photo of my dog, Hank, from 5 years ago. The way the trophy gleamed under the kitchen light, cheap gold paint, dust flecks already forming, I realized something. Tessa was still playing the game, and I'd already left the board. "Let her keep sending stuff," Riley said, reading my mind. "It's the emotional version of spam. Just filter it to trash." Wise advice. But I wasn't done yet. Not with her. Not with him. See, I'd been patient. Careful. Strategic. I never exploded. Never publicly humiliated her. Never posted the screenshots, the camera footage, the emails with enough subtext to crash a marriage in 3 seconds flat. But that didn't mean I didn't save them. It meant I was waiting for the right moment. And the right room. I called up an old friend, Dean. We used to coach high school bowling together years back. He managed a small local alley now. Not fancy, not neon. No double trouble night specials. Just wood lanes, dusty carpets, and a lot of quiet stories whispered over warm beers. I asked him if he could do me a favor. "You want to book the banquet room?" Dean asked. "For what exactly?" I told him. He laughed for a full minute. "You're serious?" "Completely." "Hot damn," he said. "All right, man. But you better invite me." That Saturday, I sent out the invites. Not to Tessa. Not even to Andrew. To everyone else. Friends. Mutual co-workers. People who had sat through 5 years of Tessa's elaborate dinner party toasts, heard her brag about her rock-solid marriage, Listened to her judge every divorced woman in our circle like they'd failed a test she wrote. The invite was simple. You're invited to a private art installation. Trophies and Truths, a short exhibit on deception and doubles. Curated by M. Caldwell. Featuring real artifacts from a very public, very personal story. One night only. The responses came in fast. Everyone loves a spectacle, especially one with moral high ground and a cash bar. Saturday arrived. Riley helped me set up. The room was small, dimly lit, with framed photos on stands like a gallery. The bowling lane kiss, the trophy shot, even a few printouts of text with names blurred out, barely. We hung the couple of the night, trophy in a glass case with a plaque underneath. Awarded for excellence in deception, disrespect, and discount beer. People arrived in waves. Some chuckled. Some looked uncomfortable. Some whispered like they were walking through a war museum. Dean worked the bar, winking every time someone ordered a Tessa sour, whiskey, lime, and a twist of betrayal. The night took on a weird, poetic tone, like performance art fueled by petty justice and medium shelf liquor. At 8:41 p.m., just as I was explaining the layout to someone, I heard the front doors open harder than necessary. Riley was the first to see. She nudged me. Your headliners just walked in. Tessa, in heels, lips pressed in a line sharp enough to cut drywall. And behind her, Andrew, looking like he realized too late that he'd bought a front row seat to his own roast. Miles, Tessa said, the way someone says cockroach in a five-star hotel lobby. What is this? An exhibit, I replied, calm. A little art project. About perspective, memory, truth. You think this is funny? I tilted my head. I think truth is clarifying. Art should reflect life, don't you think? She stormed past the displays. Stopped at the glass case. Read the plaque. This is disgusting, she spat. It's factual, I said. Andrew was already halfway to the door. You're obsessed, she hissed. You're making yourself look unhinged. I nodded slowly. Maybe. But here's the thing. I turned, lifting the trophy gently from the case and holding it out to her. You gave this to me, Tessa. I just put it where it belongs. She stared at it like it was radioactive. You don't get to do this. I already did. She turned, walking away with fury in her heels and silence in her wake. People didn't cheer. They didn't clap. But they watched. And that was more than enough. When the night was over, I left the trophy on a bench outside the bowling alley. Just sitting there. Someone would take it eventually. Trash always finds its way to the curb. After the trophy exhibit, I figured things might cool off. I figured wrong. By Monday morning, my work email was flooded. Not from clients. Not from coworkers. From burner accounts. Subject lines like, hope that petty party made you feel like a man. You're the joke now. Everyone's laughing at you. Classic projection. The messages were anonymous, but not untraceable. Brant ran a quick search, and surprise, they all pinged from the same coffee shop near Tessa's new condo. She was the one behind them. Her or Andrew. But let's be honest, we both know which of them had a flair for monologue. Brant offered to respond. I told him not to. She wanted attention. I wanted silence. Instead, I sent one email to HR at her company. Subject, regarding your upcoming employee retreat. Attached were a few screenshots. Not of the affair. Not of the bowling. Just a few messages she'd sent from her company email, mocking coworkers, breaking confidentiality agreements, and a not-so-subtle jab at her own manager's love of watching people fail. I didn't add commentary. Just facts. They launched an internal review the next day. I don't know what happened in the meeting, but I know this. By the end of the week, her LinkedIn said, open to opportunities. Sometimes the cleanest strike is the quietest. Weeks passed. Riley and I got closer. Peace became the default instead of the exception. I started sleeping again. Real sleep. The kind that doesn't end in dreams where someone is lying with your last name in their mouth and someone else's hand on their waist. Then one day, I ran into Andrew. Of all places, Home Depot. He was in the light bulb aisle, looking appropriately lost. I was grabbing sandpaper. He saw me. Froze. Looked like he wanted to disappear behind a shelf of dimmable LEDs. Hey, I said casual. How's the glow-up going? He cleared his throat. Look, man, I didn't mean for things to go that way. They rarely do. She said it was over between you two. She says a lot of things. He nodded. Eyes lowered. She, moved out. Oh, couple weeks ago. Took the car. The good towels. Didn't leave a note. I tried to keep a straight face, but something must have flickered. He saw it. Guess I should have known, he muttered. She always did talk like she was narrating her own soap opera. I handed him the bulb he was eyeing. This one lasts 10 years, I said. You might want something shorter term. He gave a sad little chuckle. You're not gonna gloat? I shrugged. You already did that for me. Then I walked away. Because closure doesn't always come in words. Sometimes it shows up in aisle 7, looking like regret and dim lighting. A month later, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. Tessa's script. It read, I saw your new girlfriend. She looks normal. Guess that's your type now. I hope she's not boring. I hope you don't miss the spark. I hope she never finds out what you're really like. That last line, that was the tell. Because Tessa still didn't get it. She thought I was hiding something. That I had to be someone else, meaner, colder, crueler, to do what I did. But the truth? I was exactly who I'd always been. The difference was, I finally stopped letting her rewrite the script. Riley found the letter, read it, raised an eyebrow, and said, Is this her version of poetry? More like fanfiction, I said. We burned it in a fire pit behind my apartment. It lit up fast. Not even paper wants to keep her words around too long. The real revenge wasn't the photo. It wasn't the party. It wasn't the email to HR or the silence that followed. It was a letter. Not the one she wrote me, the one I wrote. Not to her. To someone else. A friend of hers. Michelle. They used to be tight. Why night tight? Overshare in the group chat tight. Michelle had reached out to me quietly after the divorce. Said she was sorry. Said she always thought something was off, but didn't want to assume. I sent her a letter. A polite, crisp one. With photos, screenshots, dates. Everything Tessa had ever said about Michelle behind her back. The eye rolls. The secrets spilled. The flings mentioned. The comments about her husband. The things Michelle never knew. Not because I needed revenge, but because truth, once unboxed, has a way of finding its home. A week later, I got a message from an unknown number. You're right. She ruins everything she touches. Thanks for the truth. I don't know what happened after that. I didn't need to. I'd already won. Because real revenge? It isn't loud. It's not rage. It's not fists. It's not fireworks. It's walking away so clean, so calm, that they spend the rest of their life trying to convince someone, anyone, that you were the villain. But the people who matter? They already saw the whole game. And they know who really knocked the pins down.